It doesn't matter. I just want people can see. You see the screen all right?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, folks, Geoff Hetherington here with another short and sharp tactical tips. It's 18 profitable marketing tips is what we're looking at today. So who am I? I won't go through that. Most of you know me already in any case, but time is short, so let's get into them. Tip number one of the mistakes that people make with the marketing in their organizations is they go off gut feel. They fly by the seat of their pants or what their auntie, uncle, or mother or father says. The idea is you should actually get some hard data behind what you're doing. And that means talking to people who are already customers, potential customers, or using some of the tools here like Google Analytics, newsletter platform data, LinkedIn Campaign Manager, etc. Bottom line is, if you're just working off your gut or that little voice in the back of your head, 9 times out of 10, you're leaving money on the table. Tip number 2, this is a hard one to accept, but guess what? People aren't as smart as you think. You've got to own that. You've got to make for it. I suggest that when you're doing marketing that you do it what I call kindergarten style. You make the language as unambiguous and as easy to understand as possible so that you can cater to people and where their head's at. Sadly, what happens with a lot of people who are experts in their area is we overestimate the knowledge and intelligence of our audience, and we start talking about asymmetrical disposition of financial assets and wonder why no one picks up the phone or buys anything from us. End of the day, treat people like they've got a brain, but make sure it's simple and easy to understand. Tip number 3, getting new clients is absolutely important, but if you're in business for a while, it's just as important to keep your existing clients. All right. Now, some of us will have a natural life cycle where people will come on board and work with us, and there's a certain period of time where it's time for them to move on. But others of us will have businesses where it is in our ability to keep on helping people moving forward. So you need to decide, does your business, what it offer, does it have a defined time period, in which case you let people go and then you go and talk to them again in a couple of months? Or do you have a business where literally you can keep helping people moving on and moving on and moving on? Bottom line is, as I tell you, it's much cheaper to keep existing clients than to go and find new ones. Number 4, stories are your most powerful tool as a marketer, and you should use them often. You know, people will buy from emotion, but they justify from logic. And the way to bypass the logic thing, because here in Australia, we're taught there's only one way to negotiate, and that's on price. Whereas if you go to some of the Asian countries or some of the European countries, people always negotiate not just on price, but also on value. And most Aussies don't do that. So they're using that logical thing. How much does it cost? If you want to bypass that, there's 2 ways you can do it. The first thing you can do is, let me tell you a story. For every single one of us who speaks English, when we hear, let me tell you a story, we're 6 years old again and Dad's about to read his Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss or something like that, but it bypasses the logic area of the brain. And the other thing is to say, imagine this, because that also bypasses the logic part, gets the emotional part. So imagine this, you've just bought a brand new car, blah, blah, blah. People will imagine it. And then tell a story. Stories are great to illustrate successes that you've had with your clients. I had a client who last week had a problem with a client. They ended up going to the Fair Work Commission, but because of the work we'd done beforehand, there was no problem. It's that type of thing which will help you. But people love stories, especially ones that illustrate your expertise, and more importantly, the outcome that they're looking for or the pain that you've removed that they may be suffering. Don't hate your competitors, study them. I often hear people say, oh, I hate Joe, he's such and such, or, you know, if only we were better. Don't hate them, study them. If your competitors are doing well, have a look at what they're doing and then do a thing called A&A. Adopt what they're doing and adapt it to your business. Don't rip people off. Don't steal what they're doing, but look at it and understand the fundamentals of what they're doing and see how you can adopt those things and apply them to your business to make your business better. It's much better to view your competitors as someone else who may be further ahead in aspects of the game than you are, so you can learn from them rather than hate them. If you hate them, you're going to waste too much time and energy and emotion worrying about them instead of using them to increase your business. What works today may not continue working tomorrow. So you should always test, or you should always try. And when I say always test, I mean test to make sure you're still relevant to the marketplace you're in, right? If anyone is going to be talking about how to use Google AdWords the way that they were used 15 years ago, guess what? What worked 15 years ago in Google AdWords does not work now, right? But there are people out there teaching that. There are people out there talking about SEO in terms that were great 5 years ago, but don't matter at all at the moment. So the main thing to test is that you're still relevant to the marketplace. You should also test is the problem you solve or the pain you remove, is it still a large one in the marketplace? Maybe people have moved on. Maybe they've decided they don't need it anymore. But don't expect that what you've been doing last week and this week is going to keep working in 3 months' time. Stay relevant. This is a bit controversial, but it's probably true because people are getting more and more conditioned through social media and influencers and things is often it's not the best product that wins, it's the best marketing. We've often seen it ourselves. We've often seen people selling the same product, but one of them you sort of go, oh, I really like that. And it's because they market it better. They get their message out there better. So again, look at your product. So long as your product delivers on what you say it will, then look at your marketing to see what you can do to make it stand out. As I said before, people buy with their emotion and they justify with logic. So you need to sell emotionally to people. You need to engage their emotions first. And the best way to do that, to sell something, is gauge their emotions, which is all the benefits, the pain they remove. Then talk about the features, which is the logical stuff. You know, the car's 22 grand, it gets 16 kilometers per 100 liters, blah, blah, blah. And then go back to the emotion. That's what works. But people buy with their emotion. People actually buy the way they imagine they'll feel when they use your product or service. They buy because they imagine how they'll feel when their issue is solved, their problem goes away, or their pain is eased. Emotion first, logic second. Don't confuse features and benefits. Benefits is the main one. See, sales talk from America is from 1950s, features and benefits. They're always talking about the logical stuff, but really it's the benefits that sell first, then the features. Number 9, guess what? No one cares about your product. All they care about is how it can help them. If you've got a product that can't help them, they're not going to talk to you. Or if they perceive your product as something that can't help them, they're not going to talk to you. So this is where being laser focused on who you help and the problem you solve is going to help you attract more of the right people and the right customers. Very quickly, if you want a hand with your marketing and setting stuff up, have a look at that, or go to the chat and you can have a chat with me and I'll help you out. Number 10, meet demand, but don't try and create it, right? A couple of decades ago, Kraft released a product called Kraft Toasties, and they were sort of like a cheese slice with bits and pieces of food. And one was called Welsh Rarebit. I remember it because my father liked it and I hated it. But what Kraft did was they decided they'd inflate demand for it while all the advertising was going. So they put out a story that a couple of trucks had fallen off the road and everything was destroyed. So things were in short supply to try and drive up demand for the product. And what happened was some people from the transport company actually said, well, that's BS. We didn't lose any trucks. They just aren't making it quick enough. So it plummeted. If you try and manipulate the market that sort of way, creating false demand, you'll get caught out. It mightn't be on this product or this month, but you will get caught out. So if there's demand, try and meet it. Be honest with your people. If you are at capacity and you can't help people, then create a wait list. If people are in enough pain, they will happily wait for you. You know, one of the joys of my business prior to COVID was I had a wait list of 12 people at any one time, all the time, which was great. Good for my business, good for my cash flow, but more importantly, good for clients because they knew they were going to get helped. Understand that not everyone is your customer. Even if you sell Coca-Cola, not everyone's your customer. Even if you sell bread, not everyone's your customer, and they're commodity products. So understand that too many people do a shotgun approach and try and hit too many people in order to sell their product or service, right? The idea is to get very niched, to understand the problem you solve and the people you solve it for. And when you're established and you've got a large client base, then you can start broadening what you offer to people. But too many people go broad too quickly and wonder why they're not making any money at all. This is really important. Lots of people get caught up in creating their product or their service, and they forget it's really about selling the hole in the wall, not the screwdriver that does it, right? It's that old story, and it's very, very true. Sell the outcome of what it is you provide to people. What you provide, your service or product, is just a mechanism to help them get the result. So don't get caught up in talking about how great the product is or the service is. Get caught up in telling them how great the outcome is for them and how you're going to deliver it. People have short attention spans, and they say it's getting shorter and shorter because of social media. Although I did read something from Harvard the other day that says that's actually BS. People have still got pretty much the same attention span. But whether you believe it either way or not, if you treat your marketing like people have short attention spans, it should drive you to stand out in a crowded marketplace. We all compete in a million channel world out there, whether it's Instagram, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Google Ads, or whether it's just in the yellow pages. We're competing against a lot of people, but the people who get the attention are the people who stand out from the crowd. Now, whether you do what Benetton did during the 80s and 90s, where all their ads were all about creating controversy and all that sort of stuff, and they built a billion-dollar brand on the back of that, or whether you're just telling people that you're the best at what you do, understand that you need to do it succinctly and shortly and in a way that's memorable if you can. The best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. Now, you can't see that particular brand of water there, but within a day of that particular picture being published in the Daily Telegraph in Sydney, that particular country town did not have a bottle of that water left. It all sold out, and lots of other ones are left on the shelf. So the best marketing should be quite easy for people to slide into. You can do two things. You can be very obvious and say, "Hi, I'm Geoff and I'm going to sell you something." Or you can create a story and tell people a story so that they get marketed to without it feeling like marketing. We all get the cringes when we see some of the American style ads on there. Don't do that. A small, starving market is more profitable than a huge, overfed one, right? That's about niching. That's about understanding the people, understanding the problem you solve and the pain that you remove. It's much easier to find people there. If you're going into a large marketplace and you're not really differentiated from anyone else, it's very, very hard to get traction. Gary Vaynerchuk, the famous social media guy, wrote a book years ago called, I think it was Jab, 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 Right Cross, something like that, which was basically, give, and then ask for something. The best way to do that is literally that. I get tired of people on LinkedIn saying, "Hi, Geoff, how are you? Buy from me," right? Or sending me emails that say, "My name's Tom. I'd like to introduce myself and I'd like you to buy this," right? Give something of value, at least try and create some form of relationship, then do it. One of the big email marketers years ago used to say you should ask for something from the clients, potential clients, every 6 or 7 emails. But the 5 or 6 emails preceding your ask should be full of value, should make something worthwhile to them. So think about that. How can you give value to get people to know, like, and trust you before you ask them to do something? And before learning all the tricks and the hacks, learn the basics, understand the fundamentals. Beware shiny, bright object syndrome. There is always someone out there saying, "For $27, get my PDF and I'll show you how to set up a podcast in 13.6 minutes," or whatever it happens to be, right? Understand the fundamentals, which are finding a niche, which is understanding what you're good at doing, how to deliver that in a way that makes people want to understand that you can take away their pain or fix a problem. Get the basics and the fundamentals in place first, then start looking for maybe other tricks and hacks and things to do. Too many people jump straight in and try and hack the system or do whatever the latest thing happens to be, and you come a cropper. Tip number 18, market saturation doesn't exist if you can portray your product as newer, faster, better, or cheaper. Those of you who've heard me speak before know that I'm not a big fan of competing on price unless you're a commodity product, and even then it's a race to the bottom. So being cheap is not necessarily a great thing. But if you've got a product that looks newer, delivers a result faster, or delivers a better result, then it doesn't matter how many competitors you've got, because you're differentiated and you're providing something that people actually want. Again, as always, each week, if you'd like to have a chat, not a sales call, about your business, about its marketing, about your strategy, about where it's going, scan the QR code, or in the chat, you'll find my link, and let's have a half-hour chat and see if I can help you. That's it. Thank you, folks.